Takuta Ferris, this is
Hey,
a split call.
Ka pai, e ngā kōrero tērā tā. Tuana te wā i ngā whakaro te Pāti Māori, and I'm going to do it in English. I want to start by addressing and dispelling the myth that because Māori are overrepresented as victims of crime, it is okay for the government to ignore the fact that its own justice system has systematically, structurally, and attitudinally allowed the brutalisation of the Māori people for 171 years since its inception. Māori have been the victims of the justice system since it first appeared and began passing laws that systemically strip Māori of their legal rights in our own country, like the suppression of rebellion laws of the 1860s and 70s, like the no requirement for trial before imprisonment of Māori for 2 years, laws from the same period. Let's not look back, they say. Add to that the dispossession of land laws, far too extensive to list in a 5-minute speech, that strip Māori of their economic, social and cultural basis, condemning Māori to the ever-intensifying intergenerational poverty and everything that comes with it. The government have another catch cry for justice. Take personal responsibility, as we've just heard Mr. Abaku spout. This is their retort to our presenting of historic and current evidence. Take personal responsibility, they say, whilst ignoring the fact that they take no responsibility for the actions of successive governments in this country that are the root cause of the current poverty and justice settings we are dealing with in this country today. And they do this while ignoring the now exhaustive evidence and data sets, most of which are published by their own agencies. It defies any sensible logic. And this bill is an extension of it, Madam Speaker. What it does explain, though, is the government's approach to the formulation of justice policy and lawmaking in our country, and that is to study voting trends of the public, and then using that as the basis for the formulation of justice policy and lawmaking in our country, while simultaneously ignoring all of the historic and current evidence and data, including their own agencies' recommendations and advice. I don't know why they bother to have agencies. There is little hope for te iwi Māori when it comes to justice in Aotearoa. Te Pāti Māori presents information and analysis to implore the government to take into account all historic and current evidence when formulating justice policy and law. We are ignored, as is all of the evidence, I might add. Instead, they study voting trends to develop catch cries. What they should do is study the drivers of poverty and then turn to formulation of justice policy and law. This would ultimately lead them to fulfilling their own overarching departmental slogan for the Department of Justice, with the aspiration of lowering the overall representation of Māori in the justice system. Unfortunately, as they are organised now and led, they will never realise this. And Māori will bear the brunt of it and will remain perpetually and intergenerationally trapped in the justice system. Disproportionate exertion of force is experienced by Māori throughout the entire justice system, not just at the sentencing end, right throughout it. The beginning, first point of contact, through the process, sentencing, in prison, the lot. It's not being disputed. It's well understood. So this disproportionate exercise of force on Māori is felt at every instance, be it at the initial point of contact, like the experience of the young 15-year-old Heretaunga boy. 15-year-old Heretaunga boy, in the early hours of Sunday, the 16th of March, only just a couple of weeks ago, not long ago, not even 10 days, who in the process of being detained had his jaw broken and then was denied any medical support for 3 hours. This is the nature of excessive force for Māori families in justice. Denied any support for 3 hours until the next shift came along and said, "Hika, you look bad, better get you to hospital." He had to be flown to Wellington for an emergency surgery. His jaw was broken. I just want that, I want the reality of that to sink in for you a bit. This is what we are talking about when we talk about Māori being disproportionately everything in justice. Albeit, when you're in prison, when you're going through the court system, no support for Māori, get rid of all of it. Tēnā koe, Madam Speaker, ngā mihi, we do not commend the bill.
Well, Takuta mentioned that was quite a good part, mentioning about how, we don't think there's a problem with it. Mate, my colleagues before said you're fine, but you look shattered.
Yeah, I just want to point out something before it quickly dissipates out of my brain of what Takuta Ferris said. Sometimes, and he is right about this, sometimes when people are arrested for a minor crime, they often become a victim of a crime by the hands of the police. He was talking about that kid that had his jaw broken. Yeah. So, again, what happens to those people? And again, I can rattle off all these stats. Rates of reoffending are relatively high. Since the 1980s, Māori have made up about 50% of the prison population. Māori are more likely to be victims of a crime. Almost 1 in 3 New Zealand adults, but 31% experience crime over a 12-month period. I could go on and on and on, but it doesn't matter to these people because at the end of the day, all they care about is fuzzy feelings. They don't care about actually sorting out the problem because the problem stems ultimately from inequity.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a bit too hard.
Yeah, I mean, like Goldsmith said at the beginning, this bill was made predominantly with shopkeepers in mind. It wasn't made with the thought of people that are in poverty in mind. He doesn't care about those people. None of these people care about poor people. They care about businesses. They don't give a shit about actually solving the problem. They give a shit about punishing people who dare to, I don't know, dare to steal something, or they don't care.
Or what could be in there, and it's one that I've noticed, is holding someone else accountable. Holding someone else accountable to their actions, or holding them accountable. And sometimes when they see themselves being held accountable, they don't see their actions necessarily. They see it as they're being picked on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, you notice that there's a lack of this government has paid very little attention to things like white collar crime. In fact, they fought so hard against, in the National Act, they fought so hard against wage theft. Pathetic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that was so evident in it. It's just like, what the hell?
And we look at the people who are impacted by things like wage theft. It's ethnic minorities. So, it's round and round and round and round and round the circle we go.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok.